Welcome to Hockey Nights in Vegas, episode 104. My name is Eddie Rivkin. I'm joined by Chris Chapman and his neck beard.
Yeah, fuck.
Sorry, couldn't resist. Should have shaved before the podcast. Chris Chapman of Fox Sports Las Vegas and the Vegas Golden Knights pre- and post-game show. This episode, like all others, is brought to you by the Las Vegas Advisor at www.lasvegasadvisor.com, by my very good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and by the greatest lawyers in all the land, the Marathon Law Group, Joe Riccio and Boris at the marathonlawgroup.com. It's 2 days after Sunday's game, chap. I'm still fucking roasting. So I'd like to take a second and I guess we'll cut the promo on him now and then we'll go back and talk about the hit. Fair
Go
enough?
for it. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, chap, before we get started, I have a little message for Emil Lilleberg of the Tampa Bay Lightning.
Okay.
You know Emil, right? He's pretty infamous in our parts these days.
Yeah. He's
something.
definitely
Yeah.
not going to be a crowd favorite in Vegas anytime soon.
No, public enemy number one. Emil, you're a pussy. There's no other way to put it. It was a really shitty cheap shot on Tomas Hertl. You should have stood up for yourself. Should have grown a sack. Should have accepted the fight. Let it be what it would be, and the issue would have been over with. But no, you are not a man. Keegan Colasar asked you if you'd like to settle a receipt a couple of different times. You said no. Nick Hague asked you if you'd like to cash in that receipt, make the whole thing go away. You said no. You, sir, are not a man. You shouldn't be in the NHL. You did something real bad, and you deserve to pay for it. The issue now is the Golden Knights have a receipt. Now, I don't know a lot about you, young Mr. Lilleberg, but if you're in the NHL next year, whatever team you play for, when you see the Golden Knights, you're going to have to answer. So grow a sack, be a man. I don't know if you can fight or not. Maybe you win the fight, but at least do the NHL code proper. Stand up for yourself, admit what you did was wrong, and let the fight be the fight, and let's end this whole debacle. So, just to see if I can make Chap laugh one more time, Emil, from all of us in the Vegas Golden Knights world and the fan base, and most of the people in the NHL who saw the hit, you're a pussy, and you should have stood up for yourself. Now we're on to the episode.
So, just a little background on Mr. Lilleberg.
Okay.
He has fought.
He has fought.
In fact, he fought Trent Frederick,
Really?
Mark Kastelik, Brandon Duhaime.
So he's fought some legitimate.
All this season, he's dropped the gloves. He's got 90 penalty minutes.
Really?
Yes.
I knew he had a lot of penalty minutes, but those are three bona fide NHL fighters.
And
I did not know that.
Yeah. And I thought he was Swedish. He's actually Norwegian. Not that that matters, but
Not sure, but okay.
yeah. So Frederick he's a legit.
He's a slugger.
fighter. Yeah. So
I mean, he's no Brett Howden, but
No,
we'll get to
no.
that later.
So my issue with all of this is everything that you said. Like, first of all, it was a bullshit fucking hit.
Yeah.
You're losing the game 3-1. The guy is
Is that his agent on the phone?
Yeah, right. Yeah. fan of the podcast.
That's it.
Emil Martinson Lilleberg's agent. Fucking prick. So I don't even know who it is. I hope it's not like Alan Walsh or something.
Right.
Walsh probably wouldn't represent some schmuck like him. But anyway, so it's a shit hit. Tomas Hertl is defenseless. His back is to you. He's already been separated from the puck. And it is a very, very dangerous area of the ice to deliver a hit like that.
The most dangerous area on the ice, period.
Yeah. He was at the fucking goal line. And Lilleberg's coming full speed. Now, I don't know what his intent was. I'm going to guess his intent was to deliver a big hit. Because when a guy has that many fucking penalty minutes, and I just Google his name and 3 fights pop up,
Wow.
He's probably not in the NHL because of his scoring prowess. He's probably there because he's a fucking goon.
He's a Rempe.
I think that's being nice. Rempe would have at least
Rempe
dropped.
would, yeah.
If Rempe delivers, and look, he's a terrible hockey player, but he's a man.
If that would have been Rempe, he would have stood there at the goal line. He would have dropped his gloves
Right then and there.
and waited for whoever showed up.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
I mean, and you know what? Like you said, he's an awful. He might be the worst NHL
He's
player.
really bad.
I mean, he's horrible.
Yes.
But guess what? You know what makes him different than this guy?
He mans up.
He mans up and he answers the code.
Yes.
Right?
And
that's what
doesn't sit well with me.
disgusting is probably the right word.
Yeah. Like that.
You know, I'm disgusted that, you know, it's not like I'm looking for a pound of flesh, but fighting in hockey is controversial to some people.
It's not to me.
But if the players didn't have the opportunity to police themselves, okay?
You'd have more hits like that.
This league it would look like if you watch Pirates of the Caribbean and they're on the deck of the boat and they're all swinging swords at each other.
Yeah.
If there's no one to answer for that sort of miscreant behavior,
Your star players are going to spend a lot of time on the injured list with broken wrists and hands.
I mean, yeah. So I'm sorry, pacifists. There is a place in professional hockey for fighting.
Yeah.
And the fact that guy now, especially since you read his rap sheet.
Yeah.
I mean, that's astonishing to me.
That he wouldn't drop the gloves. And listen, I don't know if Cooper didn't tell him to drop.
No.
I can't imagine.
No.
I can't imagine anyone on his team. Those guys all know. They all know.
Everybody, not just them. Every player in an NHL sweater knows.
Right? I mean, we've been pretty fortunate in that we've seen some guys who are not afraid to answer the bell. Look, what was it? Who was it? A couple weeks ago? There was a hit in an early game that they played this season. Was it Whitecloud? Zach Whitecloud?
Oh, in Toronto.
Yes.
And against Matthew Nees.
Right, yeah,
Nice.
Yeah. He delivered a hit that was controversial. Whitecloud knew that he was going to answer for it.
And he did.
And you know what? Good on him. Good on Zach Whitecloud to understand.
Is there any chance whatsoever that he doesn't think that was a dirty hit?
If that's the
Lilleberg.
case, he's the fucking dumbest player in the league.
Okay. I mean, I'm just
because they ruled it a major on the ice. They went and reviewed it, and whatever the fuck went into it, they decided it wasn't.
And we're not going to waste podcast air talking about the rules. We thought about talking about it, but I just don't. I'm struggling to understand what rationale he could have for pussying out.
Well, like I said, he's either the dumbest fucking player in the league.
He's fought 3 bona fide heavyweights in the NHL.
Brandon Duhaime's no chump.
No. And this time and it's not like they were commanding the game, right?
Yeah.
They were down 3-1. There was 5 minutes and 49 seconds left to go in the game.
They scored a power play goal with 2 seconds to go. They're losing the game 4-2. He very easily could have dropped the gloves. Colasar was jawing with them.
With 2.1 seconds, they're standing at center ice.
Keegan lined up right across him, and I don't know what Keegan said to him.
And unfortunately, we can ask him, and he'll never tell us. He'll never tell us, but I bet we could get him to laugh if we started to guess.
Yeah.
And tell him to see if we could get him to break. But Keegan, we're coming for you on an episode, so beware.
I'm disappointed in that when I thought about after the game, I'm in the locker room. I ask questions. I'm kicking myself because we had 3 players come out, and I didn't ask one of them what they thought of it. Like, I can't speak for anyone else in the media,
right?
But how I didn't ask, who was it? Petrangelo, Nick Waugh. I can't remember who.
I can't remember who the third was.
The third player was, but the fact that I didn't.
Oh, was it McNabb first?
No, it was Whitecloud.
Whitecloud. Oh, that's right, Whitecloud.
Because Whitecloud talked about how great Brett Howden or Ben Hutton is. So I'm kicking myself for not doing it because I think after that game, you would have gotten some raw emotion. They just finished a homestand. They lose their number 1 goal scorer. to a bullshit hit, and then a guy is afraid, he chicken shits out. He skates away rather than man up. And listen, if he answers the call, I don't think we're having this conversation.
If he answers the call, we probably applaud him for taking it like a man.
I think we're still pissed off that Hertl's hit.
100%. But he honored the code.
Yeah.
Right? And at the end of the day, he honored the code.
I don't know what the reasoning is, why he didn't do it.
And haven't heard from him. So.
No, and DPS is not looking at the hit.
Real? Oh, I didn't see that.
Not to my knowledge. I mean, I haven't seen anything.
They would have done it by now anyways.
So, because we're recording this on Tuesday, and we don't have any indication that DPS is, I mean, they probably would have done it yesterday.
For sure they would have.
So the problem is this guy is not like a player who doesn't, I mean, clearly if you have that many penalty minutes.
And that many fights.
You play on the edge.
Speaking of it being Tuesday, we do have a Tomas Hertl update.
Yes.
Courtesy of Kelly McCrimmon. I think he was with you yesterday on the Insider Show.
Yeah, Kelly McCrimmon spoke to us yesterday. He does every Monday. Outside of the one Monday, he was in the general manager meetings. What was that, 3 weeks ago? So, Tomas Hertl did not travel with the team on this road trip, and he's going to be evaluated for more tests. So I don't know.
That's pretty ominous sounding.
And I don't know if it's one of those things, because I obviously we've only seen what some people who are well connected have tweeted out or said on their podcast.
Sure.
And we've heard it's a shoulder injury.
Right.
And the question, when I hear they need to do more tests, my initial thought is there ligament or nerve damage?
Well,
and they need to, I don't know how that works. Do they need to wait for the swelling to go down before they can get in and see if there's any damage underneath the bones?
Let me give you a little bit of wisdom on this one, because you're looking across the table from a guy who's getting ready to have shoulder surgery for 2 torn tendons in his shoulder. All it is an MRI. The X-ray shows if the bones are broken or anything like that, collarbone, shoulder, clavicle, whatever. The MRI tells you basically everything. All the tendons, all the soft tissue stuff. And I think I was in the tube 25 minutes, something like that.
So it's one of those big circular things.
Yeah, it's a big thing. It's like a hot dog being stuck in a bun.
Okay. Yeah, I've had that done. Yeah.
And more tests it feels like a stall to me. Right? Because I think they already know.
Yeah.
And they're trying to sort out what they're going to do with it. So I guess we have to go down the road, and they start against Minnesota here in about 4 hours. I mean, do you see anything other than William Karlsson moving up to 2C, Brett Howden moving into 3C, and Waugh moving into 4C? Because Pete,
no, I think it
Bruce, has to be, right?
Pete, Bruce, yeah, but
I think Tanner Pearson back in the lineup.
Yeah, I think so. So real quick before we get to that, so you and I, we were in the Devils locker room when Jack Hughes was injured.
Correct.
And even though the course of action, the course of action that led up to that injury was completely different, the way they hit the boards with the same amount of trajectory in the same general area,
almost the same,
was very similar,
and same velocity,
and
hard,
yes, very, very hard. I mean, you heard both of them. Now, the difference is Hughes looked like he was out cold, and I think Jack Eichel
woke him up
right away that something was not right.
Right.
And with Hertl, he didn't look like there was any potential head. Now, we don't know, but what we do know is that with Jack Hughes, they stretchered him out after the game.
Out of the arena.
Yes. And we were down there, and whatever the hell happened.
It was mayhem.
Yeah, absolute mayhem. We got yelled at by players. We got
yelled at by PR people.
Not because we did anything wrong, but because there was just so much confusion. We did not, and we don't know for a fact, but we generally, after the game, will see the EMTs leaving the rink with the stretcher. We saw them leave the rink, and there was nobody on it. So The good news, at least it would appear that Hertl was not transported to UMC
Right. Didn't go to the ER.
after the game. So that's the one positive spin that I think we can put on this. Now, as far as what Bruce Cassidy is going to do, I think you nailed it, right? Pearson will come back in. You move Olofsson up to the third line, play Carlson on the second line because him and Dorofeyev, they've had a little chemistry.
And then you have Walk, Kolasar, Pearson on the fourth line.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. And then I think you keep Saad, Dorofeyev, and you put Carlson in between them.
Yep.
And then your third line, you have Olofsson, Howden, and who the fuck am I?
Who we forget?
Who did I forget? Barbashev.
Barbashev. Yeah.
It's not bad. Howden and Barbashev are not. They play a pretty similar game. I think there's a lot of speed. There's a lot of physicality to their game, and both have the potential to score goals. And Olofsson, I think he played a solid game the other night. Like, he wasn't outstanding.
He wasn't bad.
Yeah. So I think
he's going to draw in. I mean, the bottom line is he's drawing in for
over Cole Schwint, over Raphael Lavoie, who I believe is still injured
for the foreseeable future.
Right.
Right.
And we forgot about Riley Smith.
Yeah. Okay. So it's Smith, Carlson. Oh no, it's not Smith, Carlson.
It's going to be Howden, Smith, and probably
95
Olofsson.
Yeah. That makes sense to me.
Because your top line is still Eichel, Barbashev, and Stone.
It has to be.
Yeah.
So the other big news, and you might have even been driving here, Shea Theodore is a game time decision.
Yeah, I had a feeling just based on some things that I had heard that I didn't think he was going to play tonight.
I did not think tonight.
I thought maybe the second of the back-to-back.
Yeah, one game before the Edmonton game.
Right.
Just get a little ice under you, right?
But if he's good to go, then clearly you play him.
That's a huge jolt for them. He was, in addition to getting the bag this year, right? And he was tracking beyond a career year. Yeah. He was tracking top 5 Norris
he
kind
may
of
have
year.
been point a game guy. He was that close.
He was going. So we lose Hertl for the TBD,
but you get the boost.
We get the boost, and that might be part of it. It's a little bit of the psychology of
let's give these guys a little bit of a positive boost here.
So riddle me this, Batman of the neckbeard.
Fucking ridiculous. I didn't realize we were going to be using the super high def cameras today.
Tonight against Minnesota, we'll go with the assumption that Shea plays.
Okay.
And 3 minutes into the first period, Hartman takes a stupid penalty, as he's so incredibly prone to do. Right?
Absolutely.
Who's the defenseman on power play 1?
Noah Hannafin.
Has to be. Until
only because
they're in a groove.
Yes.
They're going. Right?
He has stepped in, and he has done a very good job. Listen, he's not Shea Theodore, but he's done a very good job of emulating Shea Theodore. And
Bruce said it, he said it's going to be crappy if I got to go into one of them and say,
yeah,
da 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 da.
But I will. Shea Theodore is
how much
professional.
Is that? How much does that help number 2?
It's great.
Power play.
It's great for number 2.
And number 2 power play scored a goal last game.
They scored a goal the other night. So I think until Shea Theodore is gotten his legs back, you play him on PP2. I got no problem with that.
I think you play Noah Hannafin on PP1
until he loses the spot.
Right.
Yeah.
They're going.
There's an adage, you don't lose your job to. I've never understood that because
you do.
Yeah. I mean,
you do.
We're not talking about
Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, exactly. And the rest is history. Right. And as a New York Jets fan, agony. The rest is agony for me.
Okay.
So I think the adage, you don't lose your job to injury is not 100% true.
Right.
Maybe in some cases, but I think in this case, the guy who steps in to do your job, if he does a really good job and the team is better for it because now you can move an elite power play defenseman to the second unit.
Plus,
and not only that, but you get Pietrangelo a little bit, although Pietrangelo may draw in on PP2.
But he might get an extra minute rest.
Exactly.
Right? And that 1 minute, if that happens once or twice a game for the next 12 games, that's the wear and tear thing.
That's 24 minutes, 25 minutes a game. He's going to get a rest.
And he's a horse. He is the horse.
He fucking amazes me. Like,
he just goes.
Like, the guy's in his mid 30s and he's still playing he's in his 20s. Like he's in his 26, 27-year-old. Like he's a 27-year-old player. I mean, plus the guy has 17 kids at home on top of playing 25 minutes a night.
Yeah, he's a wonder.
He is definitely one of those guys where you're like, Jesus, where does this guy get this energy from? But good on him. You know what? I mean, he loves what he does, and he's always been good with us. And I enjoy listening to him. But
a pretty thoughtful guy.
Yeah, definitely. He's a very intelligent guy, and I like that. Because when you ask him questions, you could tell he's thinking about.
Right.
He doesn't just spout off. He's like, all right, how do I answer this? Give this guy an answer, not sound like an asshole, but
stay within the bounds.
Right. Which he's good at. And that's probably why he was a captain
of a Stanley Cup winning team.
Right.
So before we go on, normally at this point of the episode, we cut away for a quick commercial for my good friend at Dr. John Pierce at Ageless Forever. We're going to go back to the old way, and I'm just going to tell you a quick story. Our incredible producer, Tom Golly, in Nashville, Tennessee, is going to put up a couple of pictures. The first picture is going to be from episode 73, which is about a year ago. And the second picture is going to be from episode 103, which was last week, I think.
Yeah.
I am not uncomfortable saying that Dr. Pierce probably saved my life. My weight journey started a while back at 340 pounds. You'll see that in the picture. My face barely fits in the frame. A year and a half later, I am walking around a little bit over 230 pounds, and it is singularly because of Dr. John Pierce. My body was a complete wreck. My chemicals, my levels, my everything was a complete and utter disaster. And yes, I'm fortunate. I've been friends with John for over 30 years. And when he looks me in the eye and says to me, if you don't start taking care of yourself, you're not going to be long for this world, you take it seriously. And he also, next sentence says, I can help you. And he can help you. I am living proof. You see those testimonials on those commercials of, I lost 23 pounds on Manjaro and I lost 27 pounds and this, that, and the other thing. And listen, God bless those people, okay? My story is I lost 110 pounds under the guidance and care of Dr. Pierce and his staff. If you need help making yourself better, not traditional medicine, you're not going to go see a GP. You're going to have blood work. If you want to get yourself better, if you want to feel better, look up agelessforever.net. Give the girls a call. Tell them you found them on the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast. Your consultation is free. Get yourself sorted out. You owe it to yourself first and foremost, but if you got a significant other, you owe it to them. If you have kids, you certainly owe it to them, right? There's really no excuse for it. If you're not feeling as good as you think you should feel at whatever age it is, if you're in your 30s or your 40s, just all I'm asking is give it a try. I promise you that you'll send me a message somewhere and thank me for doing that. So that's my personal endorsement of my good friend, Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net. So let's get back to the homestand pretty quick. In the last episode, we both bet on 4 points out of 6.
Yeah.
And we were both pleasantly wrong.
Yes.
They did exactly what they should have done. They beat a downtrodden Boston team.
Yeah, they kicked their ass.
Right?
Yeah.
Detroit, that was the last gasp of my dying Red Wings.
Yeah, they're done. Stick a fork in the wings.
They're done. They dominated them. Back to back, afternoon and afternoon. Tampa Bay coming in off of arguably their worst performance of the year, and certainly the worst performance defensively, according to our friend Jesse Granger at The Athletic.
They got the shit kicked out of them.
You knew they were going to come in salty, right? The Golden Knights
found out first period too.
Yeah, and they Golden Knights them. You know what I mean? They talk about imposing your will. Now, it's a strange stat that Andrei Vasilevsky, the Vezina-winning Stanley Cup champion goalie of the Tampa Bay Lightning, I almost said Buccaneers.
Well, they got a Super Bowl recently, too.
The worst goals against average against any team in the NHL is against the Vegas Golden Knights.
That's not surprising.
You don't think?
No, it's not. Because they have...
But they only play each other a couple of times a year.
Yeah, but it's goals against average. I mean, but these teams in their history have played some...
Donniebrooks.
First of all, we've been cheated out of these two teams playing in a cup final maybe 3 times.
Twice or 3 times,
Because the first year, I still have no idea how they lost to the Capitals in the Eastern Conference Final. The Capitals obviously were a lot better than people were giving them credit for, and they ended up winning the Stanley Cup. But then I think it was the year after that, I think Tampa won the President's Trophy and then lost.
Well, that's the curse.
I think they got swept by the Columbus Blue Jackets the year after they lost in the Eastern Conference Final. Then the year after that was the COVID year, and the Golden Knights lost to the Dallas Stars in the bubble. And then the year after that was the 56-game season, and the Golden Knights again lost in the Western Conference Final, this time to, well, I guess it wasn't the Western Conference Final. They lost to Montreal.
The Montreal debacle.
Yeah. So these teams, they have been, I would say, the 2 most consistent teams in their respective conferences since the Golden Knights have come into existence.
Yeah, I think that's
a fair
fair.
statement.
I think it's very fair.
And yet we will likely never see them, at least in this iteration of these franchises, play in a Stanley Cup final, because I don't think the Tampa Bay Lightning are going to come out of the Eastern Conference. I just don't think
it's going to be really tough.
I just don't think they're good enough. The loss of Stamkos, I know he's not having a phenomenal season. Jake Gensel is a good player. He's not Steven Stamkos. And I don't think you replace what Stamkos brought to that team.
Well,
maybe production-wise, you can find it, but there's a lot more to it.
None of the intangibles.
Right. So I think we're not going to see it, which sucks, because these two teams have always played. I mean, you go back to year 1. The
Theodore goal with 2.3 seconds left.
Derek England takes a weird, I think it was a throwing the stick penalty. Tampa scores on the power play in the final minutes to tie it. And then Shea Theodore scores with 2.5 seconds to go to beat the Tampa Bay Lightning at T-Mobile. And that was the game that a lot of people around the country woke up and said, I remember, I think it was in December.
Hey, wait, maybe.
This team is legit. And this team has never looked back since.
Nope.
So I think that will forever be the game in Golden Knights history where people realize that they're for real. And they've been for real ever since. But these two teams, when they play, the games are amazing. And it's not shocking to me that Vasilevsky's goals against is the worst against Golden Knights. I mean, it's just maybe because he hasn't played a lot of games against them.
I mean, he was rested. He didn't play the night before in Utah.
But what this game reminded me of, it actually did remind me of year 1. The way the Golden Knights attacked, and they smelled blood in the water when they got that first goal, and they didn't let up in the first period. Tampa pushed back a bit in the second period. They were definitely the better team in the second period.
That to me was the takeaway of the game. It wasn't the 3 goals in the first was great, right? In essence, put the game close to away.
Right.
But in the past, we have seen the Golden Knights sometimes stop pushing.
They take their foot off the gas a little bit.
And you specifically asked Pietrangelo after the game, how do you prevent? And he said, listen, we make them defend.
Yeah.
Right. And this was, I think it's probably fair to say it's the exception. They did not take their foot off. Yeah, you knew Tampa was coming with a push.
Right.
And they did. They outshot them 15-8 in the second period. But they didn't turtle up. They kept probing. They kept pushing. Yeah, when the pressure was on there, they chipped it out of the zone, which is what you're supposed to do. But they never stopped trying to score.
Right.
Right?
And
ever.
Listen, it's certainly
And that's a huge thing.
It certainly helps you when your goalie plays as well as Ilya Samsonov played.
He was fantastic.
It was his best game of the season.
Yes.
And
agreed.
And listen, I'm sure there were people who asked the question when Adin Hill came out and skated against the Detroit Red Wings, who probably said, "Oh, going with Hill tonight and Samsonov against the Lightning."
I asked you that. I'm like, that one didn't make sense to me. But
no, I was it you?
It was.
Oh, I thought it was someone else. But nonetheless,
I didn't. I guess I questioned it. It seemed like,
But then when you thought about it, you said, "Well, yeah, get the 2 points against Detroit.
Put the better goalie in against the team where you're more likely to."
Right.
I don't want to say an easier win because that's
but
disrespectful.
You're more likely to.
Right.
It's a team you just played and beat you.
Plus, if you get the win in the second game, you lock up a winning home series.
Exactly.
So there's something to it for sure.
But you understood when you thought about it.
Yeah.
I'm sure there were fans,
right,
who probably were like, "Oh, great, now we're going to lose to the Lightning." Well,
that's a fantastic Mike impression, by the way.
Was that?
That was a fucking-tastic.
I don't know if that's who it was. But
it was pretty fucking good, I'll have you know.
I mean, that's my angry fan voice in general.
Okay.
So, I can't believe Bruce would play Adin on Saturday.
That's Mike. Yeah.
So there's a reason why Bruce is a Stanley Cup winning head coach. And there's a reason why Sean Burke is one of the best goalie coaches, if not the best goalie coach in the NHL.
Yep.
Because he knows. He knew. Sean Burke knew. Because I guarantee you, Bruce Cassidy's not making that decision unless he's talking to Berkey.
Oh, no, he tells us that. He says, and it's funny, he goes, I don't really deal with the goaltenders much. I just go talk to Berkey.
But that decision was likely made when they got home from Detroit.
Oh, yeah.
On their rest days, and they were looking at, like little chess pieces. All right, well, if I move my bishop here, I can move my queen here. They knew what the fuck they were doing. And they ended up going 3 for 3 on the homestand because they are one of the best staffs in the league. You've got a guy, and we don't really talk too much about John Stevens or Dom Ducharme. John Stevens is a guy
Joel Ward,
who I believe is going to be a head coach one day.
Has to be.
He's
has to be
really, really good. Very, very highly thought of as well, as far as, understanding the game. But John Stevens won multiple cups with the Kings as a coach, as an assistant. And then you've got Dom Ducharme, who is a relatively young guy, but he took the Montreal Canadiens to that Stanley Cup final. They beat the Golden Knights. So this is a guy who also has the ability. He's probably going to be a head coach one day too. Again.
Yep.
So they've got 2 legitimate assistant coaches who will be head coaches. I don't know if John Stevens was ever a head coach in the league. Maybe interim at one point or another.
I feel like he was an interim somewhere.
But he's a guy who has been around a long time.
A lifer dog.
Yeah.
100% lifer dog.
So you've got this incredible staff of talented coaches who maybe can understand the game better than 99% of people listening and out there and wherever. But it works. It works so well because they all understand each other. It doesn't seem like there's ever any pushback or issues. And Bruce trusts these guys because he speaks highly of them. I remember when Bruce was with Team Canada, John Stevens was running the practices.
Yeah.
So, and John Stevens would come and talk to us. So there's this understanding in that room of we built this on trust. And Bruce doesn't ever, I don't know if he ever, I'm sure there's times where he will overrule. But
yeah, he said a couple of times, I just saw something I didn't like, and
yes. And he if it doesn't work, he still will say I.
Right.
Not, the guys thought, no. It's if there's a fuck up, Bruce takes responsibility.
Unlike that player on Tampa Bay we talked about earlier.
So anyway, I think you've just got this collection of guys who like Berkey. Berkey's the best. I mean, he's a great guy to chat with, funny guy. He told me a story about how when he was a rookie, or when Sidney Crosby was a rookie, he was still in the league, And I think Berkey said he was playing for Tampa, and they played Pittsburgh. And he's like, he didn't score on me. I shut them out that night. So I believe
he has unbelievable stories.
I think Mario Lemieux was on that team.
Probably.
So he got a shutout. Not a lot of guys can say, hey, I shut out the Penguins with Mario and Sid on the team. Berkey can.
All right, let's get a quick word in from Marathon Law Group, Joe Riccio and Boris, and then you'll get to see Chapman, I think, without a neckbeard.
I'm here with Joe Riccio from Marathon Law Group. And Joe, sometimes when couples go through divorce, one of the partners will deprive the other partner of visitation with their children. Obviously, this is never a good situation for anybody. So what steps can someone take to maybe deal with this type of issue if it arises?
Well, thanks, Chris. One of the most important things you can do is make sure that you have a court order. And in the state of Nevada, over the last several years, the Nevada legislature has moved towards involving both parents and finding it best for children to be involved, or parents to be involved with both children equally, both on the legal custody and the physical custody side of things. So if you're being denied time or deprived time, whether it's in a court order or not, you definitely want to take measures to prove or at least show the court that you've been making those overt efforts and that the other side has been depriving you.
So maybe like keeping a calendar or something like that and marking when you have visitation with the child, maybe marking when you should, and if you don't get visitation on that particular day.
Yeah, absolutely. Not only could you keep a calendar log, but there's applications that the parties can get into without the court for free that allow them to communicate that the court can look at when that time is right. And then there's other mechanisms that you can engage in as well, such as text messaging and emailing and making sure you're keeping those records.
Let's play a little game. I'll ask you a couple of questions. You can ask me questions. Let's go with a really difficult one.
Okay.
Who has more goals this year? Pavel Dorofeyev or Jonathan Marchessault and Chandler Stevenson combined?
I'm going to go with Dorofeyev.
You think?
Yeah.
It's a tie.
Wow. Well, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
That wasn't a fucking option.
Pavel Dorofeyev has 30 goals. Jonathan Marchessault has 19. Chandler Stevenson has 11.
By the way, Stevenson, he's not having a terrible season.
He's leading Seattle in scoring with 48 points.
Yeah, so not bad. Not a bad season.
But remember that in the very beginning of the year, we were like, "Oh my God, they lost all these goals. Where's it going to come from? It's going to come from a 23-year-old Russian kid who is completely camera shy that just considers, he continues to fill the net like a baker fills a jelly donut."
Yeah. Ooh.
I know. It sounds good right now. And if you think about it, I'm going to give you rough math.
Okay.
There's about $10 million difference in salary cap. Marchessault's making 5.5. Stevenson's making 6.25, and Dorofeyev's cap hit is 1.8. So it's 1.8 versus it's $50,000 away from $10 million in cap space. Is Kelly McCrimmon the wizard?
Well,
yeah.
Yeah. Then you look at what you've gotten out of Tanner Pearson, who's got
And Howden.
double-digit goals.
And Kolasar.
Yeah.
Right?
Nick Waugh has 11.
And he's going now.
He's heating up.
He just needed a trip to the Hockey Nights in Vegas podcast room to get them all loosened up.
I think Nick Hague is put in a couple recently as well. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, he had one disallowed.
Yeah, so
and then got the empty netter against Tampa.
I don't know what his career high in goals is, but I feel like he's getting close.
Well, he's got 4, so it's not an incredibly lofty
never really
bar.
Known for being
whoa, wait a minute.
Not here. Not here.
I was saying juniors, I think he scored 40.
That would not shock me at all.
Well, he's got a howitzer.
Yeah.
Even though we don't see it that often.
That fucking shot is ridiculous. Yeah.
So I guess we should probably talk about the homestand that's going to start in a few hours.
Road trip.
Road trip. They had the homestand. They're on the road trip.
By the way, Nick Hague, 5 goals this season.
Okay.
His career high,
7.
5.
Oh, He's on the precipice.
in 2021. So he's 1 goal away from a career high. He only had 2 goals last year. So he's got as many goals this year as he had the previous 2 years combined.
Which makes no sense to me whatsoever.
You know what? It's the way it goes sometimes. But
how much fun would it be if he scored against Edmonton and we can go in the back and talk to fan of the podcast, Nick Hague, and say, congratulations on a career high 6th goal.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah. I asked Bruce about Nick the other night.
Yeah.
Because I feel like he's gotten a little he's and listen, I'm gonna put this out there because maybe people didn't. Well, you called him out, said he needed to be a little tougher, and he needed to be the enforcer. And I kind of asked Bruce about that and adding, a little more offense to his game. Bruce brought up a really interesting, and I don't think it was a direct comparison, but he brought up Zdeno Chara.
Well,
because of the size.
Well, mostly because of the size, but what he was talking about is how they had to grow into their games,
right,
and have their games fit their size,
right? Because
more of a 2-step.
Basically, you have in the case of a guy like Nick Hague or Big Z, you've got these little fucking mosquitoes that are buzzing around and they're trying to steal the puck from you, and
well, they're inside your reach.
Yeah, which is
right
crazy.
between the heel of your stick, right, when the player's like this, between the heel of the stick and the body. The smaller guys are able to get in there because there's a lot of distance in there.
Yeah, I mean,
you could park a smart car in those guys' reach.
Nick Hague's probably, I mean, I don't know what his reach is, but his stick,
wingspan is big.
His stick is probably what?
The max allowed by the NHL.
Yeah. I mean, because he's a fucking big guy. So, but I thought it was interesting that Bruce brought up that he coached him when, now he was a little more established when Bruce got there, right? Chara was not a kid.
Chara was already all the way through the Islanders phase. So he was probably 7-8 years in the league by the time Bruce got there.
So, but I think what I found interesting was saying Nick is starting to grow his game into his body.
Yeah.
Which I think is a really, really high compliment. It's high praise because I think we all keep waiting for Nick Hague to explode
on the scene.
And from midway through this season, we've kind of seen an evolution in his game. He's added some meanness. He's fought, and he's adding offense. And if this guy is able to get going,
it's a lot of weapon.
Well, not only is it a lot of weapon, it's a lot of basically you're bringing the cannon out.
Yeah.
To fortify your already well fortified defense.
Because nobody wants to stand in front of that.
I'm not fucking getting in front of that shot.
No. It makes that goalie in the Army commercial look.
Yeah. USAA.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got USAA.
US I ain't.
Yeah. No, thank you.
So let's talk a little bit about the upcoming road trip. We were talking about goalie rotation. It feels to me like it should be
Aiden
tonight, and then Aiden Friday, Sammy Saturday,
right?
Aiden against
Edmonton on April 1st.
That's what it feels. That's what it feels like to me.
By the way, I found out that April 1st is Riley Smith's birthday.
No comment. There's enough anyway. Well, happy birthday, Riley. He might be 31. 30,
no,
30.
I think he's 34.
Really?
Yeah. It's been around a while.
Wow. I did not think he was that old.
He's got a pretty good collection of jerseys too. Dallas, Florida, Boston, Pittsburgh, New York, and Vegas.
Yeah, he's got a nice rack in his closet.
Yeah.
So these 3 games, this little mini road trip. They're all different. They're all different and important for different reasons. It looks like there's a very reasonable percentage opportunity that the Golden Knights are going to see Minnesota in the first round.
That's what it's
It's
looking
kind of shaping up that way. And
you gotta win the division.
You have to win the division, but it feels like it's trending toward, the other two teams in the division would have to play astoundingly good hockey down the stretch. And with Draisaitl and McDavid out, right? LA is still a threat. They've got significantly more home games than they do road.
For them.
And
they
that's
are. Listen, they kicked the shit out of Boston, and then they kicked the shit. Who did they
Anaheim, I think, 7-2, 7-2.
Yeah, but then they had another game before that where they lit they lit up Carolina.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for them, I would say it's more important for LA to finish second than it is for the Golden Knights to finish first. Because they're not, if it's LA Edmonton again and it opens in Edmonton, they're not going to chance. They're done. Right?
Which is probably good for Vegas.
Which is good for Vegas. And remind me, I want to tell you a really interesting sports betting fact about that specific thing. So this is the opportunity to potentially impose your will on a team that you're going to see in about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, something like that, in the first round of the playoffs.
Maybe Easter Sunday, right around that time.
Right around that time. So that's an important game. And the Golden Knights have not been fantastic on the road, winning percentage just over 50%. This is one of those things where you say, okay, son, daddy's home.
Yeah.
Right? And then you have Nashville and Chicago, or Chicago and Nashville.
Chicago on Friday night, right. Nashville Saturday.
Two hot, steamy piles of trash.
Yeah, they're shit.
Right? And they just need to do their job. Right? Which team was the thing with the shirt said, do your job? It was one of the Super Bowl teams.
Yeah, I don't
okay.
Remember.
The point that I'm getting at in a roundabout way is this is a road trip that should be 6 points. There's no excuse for them back-to-back, aside. The Marchessault playing in Nashville, I don't give a shit about that. Nashville is hot garbage.
They played there already, so there's no
right. There's no luster on that thing. The luster is the April 12th game when he comes back here and he gets the tribute video. But for right now, this is 6 points that they need to get. Because if they get to 6 points and there are 9 games to go in the season, that forces Edmonton and Los Angeles to play almost perfect hockey to win the division. This is the time where, like Chrissy in The Sopranos, you put your thumb on the scale a little bit, and you really bear down and close them out. And these are winnable games because it gets a little crunchy in April.
Yeah,
Edmonton, Winnipeg, Calgary and Vancouver twice, right, and back-to-backs. So I don't want to ever say easy points, but these are 6 points that are more easily attainable, that if the Golden Knights just play to their identity, they should win the game.
I think they're going to lose one because if they sweep, that means they go 6 for 6.
What's wrong with going
6
6
straight
for
wins?
6? Detroit had 2 7-game wins.
Yeah,
you look at them.
I think I don't like the start time of the Nashville game. I think it's goofy because you're playing a back-to-back and the start time is less than 24 hours. So if they're going to slip up, I think that's one. I think that's the one. I think they'll beat Minnesota tonight.
I think they're going to beat Minnesota tonight
because I think Minnesota's got some injuries,
and they still don't have Kaprizov.
And maybe you get Fleury in net.
They do have Fleury. I think he's. I think I read it was. I think they said probable, which is he's going.
He's going to go.
Right.
So I think they'll beat him. No offense, Marc-Andre.
Thanks for all you did.
Yeah, I love the guy. Great human being, great guy to chat with, but it's business.
Right.
And I think they'll take care of this game tonight. I think they don't like the way they played against Chicago, and I don't know if that factors into it, right? Like, I don't know if you're remembering.
I suspect it probably does.
Yeah. Right? I would think so, but you're in the middle of a playoff race and you're not this is a team that quite frankly sucks.
Yeah.
But they beat you earlier in the season.
Yeah.
And
handily.
And you can't be thrilled with the way that the game, even though you scored 7 goals, you gave up 5 to a bad team. And Connor Bedard didn't even have a point in that game.
Right.
So, by the way, he's been kind of salty. I like it.
I like 2 misconducts, back-to-back games.
I like it. And he's 19 and he's like fuck this.
Good for him.
Yeah, show some emotion. He's going to be really good. But I think
So which game are they losing?
they're going to lose a Nashville game.
Again.
Which is fucking amazing to think that they would lose to Nashville twice. They've got like 40 fucking points. All right, they've got more than that, but
Not a lot more.
You catch my drift.
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't been eliminated.
They're getting there.
I think I saw if they were to lose to Vegas,
Saturday.
regardless of what they do the rest of the season, they would be eliminated.
So in other words, you're saying the executioner is getting the gallows ready.
He's starting to sharpen up the
Right.
old pickaxe there. Not pickaxe, the axe.
Good for them. Couldn't happen to a better team.
Yeah.
See what happens when you don't let your team go to U2 concerts?
Well, yeah. Well, no, they won a shitload of games after that.
Yeah, I know.
Then the guys realize, hey, wait a minute, they didn't let us fucking go to U2.
A funny story, but
Yeah.
uh,
Well, no, we don't have to go.
I want to go back to that point before we get out of here.
U2?
No, fuck.
They tried
U2.
to sue me, by the way.
Did they?
Yeah.
Were you impersonating Bono in
No.
a karaoke bar?
No. So
Quickly.
we played New Year's Day on the show one time and put it up in the podcast, and I got a cease and desist letter.
You personally or the station?
Not me personally, the station, but I was the one who was responsible. So
You made the musical selection for the game?
Yep, I played it, didn't remove it from the podcast. So yeah,
Love it.
pretty cool.
You should have gone to the
I wanted-
concert at the Sphere and had him autograph.
That's what I said to the PD. I said, let me have a copy of it. I want that.
I want to get it autographed
Yes, yeah.
by Boner or Bono or whatever his name is. Edge. Okay, I'm going to finish up this with a question. In your professional opinion, as an educated sports observer and knowledge of gambling, who's the favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
In Vegas?
No, in all the sport, basically across the board in the
Okay.
sports book. Who's the favorite to win the Stanley Cup?
I would say that the Golden Knights are the favorite.
Could you justify that?
Yes, I think you can. Now,
I'll tell you why. The answer is correct. It is the Vegas Golden Knights, and people are going, oh, fucking Washington and Winnipeg and Dallas and Colorado and blah, blah, blah. I think that they're getting, it's not even a hometown discount. Their path to the Stanley Cup Finals is, in theory, because we don't know for sure yet, it's going to be easier.
that's the way it breaks down.
Here's the concept. Winnipeg plays the first wild card. Calgary, Vancouver, St. Louis, whoever.
Doesn't matter. They
Five,
should beat them.
five and done. Unless Hellebuck does a playoff Hellebuck, they're
Yeah.
going to win that series.
Right.
Dallas and Colorado are going to beat the living snot out of each other for 7 games and a whole bunch of overtime periods.
Probably.
Right? The winner of that Dallas-Colorado series gets
Winnipeg.
a fairly rested Winnipeg, who, if they win the first round series, might start feeling a little bit puffier about themselves.
Right.
Right? That road is incredibly difficult. On the other side of the ledger, you have the Pacific, where nobody has a lot of respect. If the Golden Knights win the division, they likely get Minnesota, we're saying, a winnable series.
Right.
LA and Edmonton liable to beat the dog snot
That's
out of
probably a
each other
7-game
for
series.
7-game series and a whole bunch of overtimes.
Especially if the Kings have home ice.
Right.
That's a 7-game series.
So the Golden Knights are possibly going to get a team that's pretty battered and beaten up in the first round.
Right.
And if they get through the second round against Edmonton or LA, they're going to get a team that's definitely been in the wars.
Right.
And if it's Colorado, that means they beat Dallas and they beat Winnipeg. So, they're going to have their metal sharpened, but they're also there's a chance that there might be a bit of a letdown. So I see the Golden Knights path. We've talked about it in episodes throughout the year. Do you see a path?
Yeah, you want
Right.
to win. The path starts with winning the
Right.
division.
And if they win the division, they have a significantly easier path to the Western Conference Finals.
Now, don't quote me on this, but someone told me that every year the Golden Knights have won the Pacific Division, they've made the Western Conference Final.
Oh, we'd have to ask Stat Boy about that. It sounds like it could be right.
I mean, they won the division year one, made the Western Conference Final.
They've been in the conference finals four times?
4 times. They were the division champs the COVID year where the league shut down and they played in the bubble. They went to the Western Conference Finals, lost to Dallas. They won the division the year they lost to the Canadiens.
Right.
And they won the division the year that they won the Stanley Cup.
I mean, I guess that's a trend.
Yeah. So, I mean, you have to 4 for 4, you have to feel pretty good. So,
if they get the job done this week, by the time Edmonton gets here, this race is going to be pretty close to buttoned up.
Well, especially if you beat the Oilers.
Right.
They're done. I mean, they're not done.
They're not done.
They're not
done. They won't win the division, right?
Because it's just too insurmountable at that point.
So,
I mean, listen, I think I'll say this. I like the Golden Knights against the Winnipeg Jets. If they play in a Western Conference Final, I think history shows that the Golden Knights,
they have no problem winning in Winnipeg.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, they're not intimidated by that building.
And they won't have home ice, and that doesn't really matter.
Yeah, I don't think they care.
I don't have a problem with them at all.
They beat them 2 years ago in the first round. Pretty much the same team.
Pretty much the same goalie.
I mean, both times.
That's
been
what
the same goalie.
That's what I mean.
So, they still have Kyle Connor,
Yeah,
Josh
they got
Morrissey,
Scheifele.
They're a good team. But I think the Golden Knights are better. I just think in the way that the LA Kings are a bad matchup for the Golden Knights, I think the Golden Knights are a bad matchup for the Winnipeg Jets.
The funny thing about the Jets, and they're, hats off to them. They're having a fantastic season. But you know what they haven't had this season?
Adversity.
That's exactly right. And Bruce has said a number of times, adversity's okay.
Neither have the Washington Capitals.
And neither have the Washington Capitals.
Now, granted, they did lose Ovechkin, but I mean, it's a good team.
It's a solid club. I mean, listen, from I don't call myself a journalist, as a podcaster, but as a reporter that you are, you have to be salivating at the possibility of Vegas, Washington.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Right? Rematch,
Like
Logan Thompson. That's the whole story.
Yeah.
As a purist, I would much rather see Vegas, Tampa, or I'd rather see Vegas, Florida again.
Yeah, sign me up for that.
Yeah, right. Get the popcorn. I'm ready. I'm ready to do
Paul
that.
Maurice is always a good soundbite.
Oh, fantastic!
And
he's fun to go to the room.
You add Marchand to the mix,
right?
And Kachuk, who's obviously hurt, but he'll probably be back.
A lot of hate going on in that series.
Yeah,
so sign me up. I would rather see either of those than Washington.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and honestly, we'll make predictions in episode 107. We'll do just before the playoffs.
Yeah.
Washington is susceptible.
Oh, I think absolutely. Because I think
they're second favorite, by the way, to win the cup.
I wouldn't bet them.
They're like plus 310 or something.
I think they will get through their first round series.
And then they're going to have trouble
with Carolina. Because I don't think the Devils are beating. And listen, if Washington plays Ottawa,
they might go out earlier than that.
I like the Ottawa Senators.
I like Brady. Can you imagine what playoff Brady Kachuk could be like?
I think we could, in theory, get Matthew against Brady in the playoffs.
Now
that's
this is just two hockey guys nerding out about what April, May, and June is going to be for his however long the Golden Knights are. This playoff season has the chance to be really electric.
And they just added Dylan Cousins to the mix. I like Ottawa.
Who's showing up?
I think they're dangerous.
And they have that sneaky sniper. It's me, Amadio.
And Linus Ullmark.
So
they got Linus Ullmark. So
that's it.
That's it.
That's it. We're done. Episode 104 is in the books. We'd like to thank our sponsors, as always, the Las Vegas Advisor at lasvegasadvisor.com, my good friend Dr. John Pierce at agelessforever.net, and the Marathon Law Group, Joe Riccio and Boris, for all your legal needs. The only crime at episode 104 is that fucking neckbeard kid.
Yeah,
it's hard to fucking look across the camera from that fucking Andrew Luck special neckbeard. But that's it, folks. Thanks as always for your loyalty and for comments. We'll see you again next week. We're out of here.